Hello guys, and welcome to a new Still Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Colleville, and in this one I'm going to be playing with the first Pancerna. So this was a game that was played on stream, and if you guys want to catch those streams, they are every Thursday at 10:30 GMT. I'm sorry if that's a bit inconvenient, but I might change it in the future, and I might also change the platform as well, so it might not be YouTube. I'll look into it in the new year. But either way, guys, yeah, this was streamed live, and if you're a patron, you can go on now and watch the entire stream, which is really cool because it's got all the live gameplay and stuff. But for now, it's going to be a replay commentary, and this was a division that I really wanted to play, so I was in for a lot of fun when it came to the first Pancerna. I really wanted to try and show off like a really strong phase A/B push, using the Cromwell 6s, and yeah, it's just really fun to be very aggressive with this division, and it has pretty much all of the tools you need in order to be aggressive early on in the game. So you got your recon, of course. They specialize in recon, the first Pancerna, so that's helpful. And then you also have, of course, the Cromwell 6s, which are the 1,200 meter range HE units, which allow you to engage, 1,000 meter range PaK 38s from out of range, which is very convenient indeed because you can fire at them and they can't fire back. Cromwells are also useful for helping your infantry in direct fire support, so if your infantry engagement is not quite going your way and you turn up with a Cromwell 6, it's definitely going to go your way. So I've got 2 Cromwell 6s down, and they are very important in this division. I believe you can only get 4 of them in the entire division, but you can bring them all in phase A, which is quite scary, honestly, for your opponents, because you're not going to be running out anytime soon. It can happen in phase B when they start to counter them with longer ranged units, but if you play around them smartly and micro your Cromwell 6s effectively, it can definitely lead to some very good aggression in the early phases. I've also got my Cromwell 6s accompanied by rifles, and rifles in this division quite simply act as sort of meat shields, and they reveal enemy infantry just by being there, because enemy infantry will shoot at them, and that will allow your Cromwell 6s to then open up onto said infantry. Accompanying my Cromwell 6s as well, I have the AT guns. I just have an AT gun there in case I get sort of attacked quite hard by enemy armor, because that can be quite hard to deal with, especially if you are solely relying on Cromwell 6s. Now you can, of course, wait until later on and bring in like a normal Cromwell with some AP value, but it can be quite scary early on. For example, if you're playing against like a 9th Panzer and they start rushing at you with Panzer II Lux, because your Cromwells can't penetrate those, at least not the Cromwell 6s. So a safer route than what I've done here might be, to bring a normal Cromwell along with a Cromwell 6. But I wanted to go for like the all-out aggression, so 2 Cromwell 6s and then like a defensive 6-pounder just in case, basically. But I'm generally hoping that my opponent doesn't go all out on me with armor. So let's set it to my point of view, and we'll talk through what I do as I do it. You can see that myself and Eugen are sort of sharing the left side here, sort of in between myself and the town. And let's have a look actually at who I am joined with today. I've got Jagdsource on my team, Eugen and Lim21. So Guards Armoured, 2nd Infantry and 15th Infantry Scots. And then we're playing against Nexus, Sora, UMN and Snapper. So 9th Panzer, 17th SS Panzer Grenadier, 12th SS Panzer and the 16th Luftwaffe. So this was completely like random teams. Whoever joined first could just choose a side because it was on stream. So there we go. So that's how the teams were dealt. And I was just sort of waiting for the start here. It was relatively long deployment, honestly, in this game. So let me just speed it up for you guys, and we can get the game underway, and we can talk about exactly what's going on here and how I'm planning to try and make some ground early on. So yeah, I've got, on my left side, Eugen here. I know he's very capable, so don't have to worry about my left flank, which is fantastic. And of course, there's nobody on my right flank, so I'm in an ideal position here to just be as aggressive as I like and really try and push home in this game. So I didn't quite realise it was like a 7-minute deployment, but we've got there, and my jeeps are zooming ahead with our spy. Just got to try and drop them out where I can and find out what I'm up against. Because the first thing you always want to do in a game is find out what division you're up against, and then, like especially in like a 4v4 or a 3v3, find out what division you're up against and then react accordingly. So I've just got to get my jeeps into position enough to actually spot a unit. I see Snapper, that tells me it's a 16th Luftwaffe straight away, and that allows me to realise that I pretty much have the perfect division to counter his. The 1st Pancerna does very well against the 88s of the 16th Luftwaffe if micro correctly, and you can see already an 88 has been put down, and that's going to start firing at my rifles here. So it's just up to me to get this Cromwell 6 into a position to fire position onto the 88 just out of range. You can see that's what I'm trying to do here. However, Snapper is of course trying to close the range as well with his 88 so that he doesn't get caught out. I've got to be very careful with this engagement, and you can see I'm having to actually reverse here to make sure that that doesn't happen. It's all about microing these Cromwell 6s, and if I can do it correctly, then the 88s should be dead. It's just a matter of getting shots off before the 88s get into range. You can see my Cromwell 6 firing there, completely whiffs the first shot. I don't know exactly where he was aiming, but it definitely wasn't at where I told him to. Second shot comes in, pinned down. Lovely jubbly. So there was, definitely a chance that I could have mismicroed that, accidentally moved into range, and then the 88 gets the shot. But here, the 88 is currently quite pinned down, and therefore shouldn't hit my Cromwell 6. Fortunately for Snapper, he actually does. He actually gets the ammo storage, which halves my ammo. And I was very lucky not to actually have my Cromwell 6 killed, because that would have been very inconvenient. But I played that relatively well. It's just that recovery shouldn't have led to a shot that hit because the morale was so bad. But just luck there for Snapper, allowing him to get the hit. And I was lucky not to lose Cromwell. So luck on both sides, I guess. But my luck won out due to my play there, already hitting him once. So Cromwell 6 helps clean up Panzerschreck there. Rifle's going to be moving forwards, trying to reveal the enemies ahead of us. I've got my Cromwell 6 now trying to kill these Fusiliers, and I've already taken care of the infantry on this right side, so that's allowing me to just run forwards, and some Luftwaffe Jäger in this tree line here, or in these trees, does get surrendered by my rifles as well, because they were pinned down from my Cromwell that I saw earlier. So now it's just a matter of getting my Cromwell 6 into a position that can cover the infantry running at me. And Snapper here with this infantry is being a bit careless. Should probably use smoke to cover the advance. Especially with my Cromwell 6s, like smoking the Cromwell 6s off would be a nice way to stop them from being as effective, and then, those Luftwaffe Jäger wouldn't have just ran into rifles and been surrendered. But yeah, Cromwell 6 push coming in really, really good at the moment. Taking out that 88 was incredibly important at the start. And because it's 16th Luftwaffe, just going to be accompanying my first 2 Cromwells with another one, and also a Stuart 5 to give them some command, a little bit extra rate of fire, a little bit extra accuracy, that kind of stuff. It's always useful. So the Panzerschreck here has been revealed. I am using my Zwiadalski, we're just like moving those forwards with my Stolzi here, and that's just revealing unit after unit for me. And I even managed to pick off a Kubel there with the 6-pounder, which was very important actually. I believe that may have been carrying an AT gun if I remember correctly, but either way, really, really good kill on the 6-pounder, just picking up that before it unloads. Flak goes down to the Cromwell 6 as well, and as you can see, Snapper is struggling a lot against these Cromwell 6s, and it's just a matter of me now really taking advantage of the kills I've got onto his AP value units, like 88s and AT guns. I've basically neutralized those, and it looks like Snapper was also trying to use Panzerschrecks, but as you can see, I've got enough recon to see them coming, so that was not an issue. And yeah, it's just a matter of taking advantage of that. So you can see I'm pushing very aggressively, bringing up some rifles to just like sponge enemy forces coming my way, and then I can continue the long-range engagement with my Cromwell 6s. Do have a Panzerjägerbren coming down on the left side. Do have to be a little bit careful of that, because if it gets a side shot onto my Cromwell, it can get the kill. Also, if it gets close enough, it can get the kill. But supporting my Cromwell 6 with a 6-pounder here is very important, and I've also now got the Stuart 5 to help out with armoured vehicles as well. So the Stuart here is just very useful for killing things like these UE 630 MG carriers, because my Cromwell 6 can't really effectively take that out. So I've got to have something with AP value in order to do that. Universal Carrier does go down the left side to the Panzerschreck before it dies, but I'm currently pinning some Luftwaffe Fusilier and some Luftwaffe Jäger on this right side. Aren't having a great time since my Strelzy have moved up into these buildings, so getting some really good pins. Take out another Flakverling on the left side with my Zweer Dalsey, just kind of like ran that down, tried to get into range as soon as possible. And now I'm even engaging the 80mm mortar here. Snapper in complete disarray as I'm pushing very aggressively with the Cromwells. So this has worked out very well. I want to get rid of this Storch, so my unit of choice is the Crusader AA Mark 28. 80mm mortar gone down, and my 4th Cromwell now on the way to the front line. So just really using those because they exploit the weaknesses that the 16th Luftwaffe have. Because the 16th Luftwaffe rely on their 88s quite a lot, and therefore, you know, having the counter to that works out very well, and just having more of those just allows me to crush Snapper the further I get. Now he's brought in another 80mm mortar just to try and, you know, pin down some of my rifles as they continue to move forwards. It's a great idea, but you probably shouldn't leave it in line of sight for Cromwell. Admittedly, I did move it into line of sight, so you probably wasn't expecting that, but either way, the range of the Cromwell really working out for me there. Off map is coming down onto the Cromwell, and one thing to note over here is I did manage to make the Panzerjägerbren surrender due to it being fired at by my Cromwell 5 and the Stuart 5 here. Now Nexus has brought up a Panzer II Lux to try and help Snapper on this right side. Nexus, however, is kind of struggling himself, with Eugen pushing all the way through with his 2nd Infantry. Now 2nd Infantry against 9th Panzer in the town, there's two ways that can go. The first way is a Flampanzer from the 9th Panzer can just annihilate the town. The second way is Ranger Marauders kill the Flampanzers and any chance of the 9th Panzer from you know, contesting. So this Panzer II Lux comes into line of sight of both my Stuart and the Cromwell 5 after I bring those back, and I managed to clean up that little flanking attempt there. It's just a matter of getting my Cromwell up onto the 80mm mortar, and you can see we have gained 59% territory lead, +2 in our favour. Great start indeed. So great job by Eugen pushing all the way through the town. I've managed to push, you know, almost to their spawn at this point, just thanks to Cromwell 6s. And any units that try to run forwards at this point are getting hammered. So just got to get my Cromwell 5s into position, Stuart 5 there as well. You can see the off map coming down along the way, but it's not really helping out too much because these armoured units just can kind of just shrug it off. And now finally getting my AA up to stop this Storch entirely. The main thing that I would hope to see here from Snapper, like if I was in his shoes, is probably something like a HS-129. Try and like kill off the AA and then go for the kills onto the Cromwells, or before the AA turns up, you start to try and kill those Cromwells off. Because letting it get to this point where I have 4 Cromwells on the map, plus a Cromwell 5, is really difficult to deal with for him. The Nexus coming up with more tanks. I managed to get an internal fire onto this Panzer II, I believe it is, which was nice. And now it's just a matter of, you know, trying to get as far as I can, as much as I can in the early game, because I know that the first Pancerna can fall off quite hard in the late game. So quite simply, I'm just trying to make as much ground as I can in case, you know, I start to get pushed back. However, it's pretty unlikely that I'm going to get pushed all the way back at this point. But it has happened before. I think in a game with the 4th Armoured, I made a very aggressive push in Phase A and actually ended up getting pushed back all the way to my spawn and lost almost every one of my units, which was pretty crazy, one of the craziest games I ever had. In this case, it's a bit more secure, just because I have tree lines that I can fall back to that are quite long. So this is important because, like, this tree line here is like an absolute saviour. Quite simply because it's very long. That means that if I have a tank in the middle, for example here, and it gets RT'd or airstriked or something like that by like an ME1 or Focke-Wulf 190 with the rockets, it means that it will recover from falling back before it reveals itself in line of sight. Like, it would take a long time to drive over here or into a point where it's in line of sight. Yeah, before it reveals itself, which is a big deal. You know, like, if for example a massive tank came in at this point, you know, a Befehl Panther or a King Tiger or something, just from one of the other divisions, like the 12th SS at this point, we're in Phase B, could just pop out a Befehl Panther, then what do? Like, I've got Cromwells, they're not really going to stand a chance. So I would quite simply just hide as much as I could and force him to come to me, and then try and like ambush the Befehl Panther and then maybe push off that if I had to. But at this point I've made the ground, so I don't necessarily have to be super aggressive. I just have my Cromwells in these positions to do as much damage as I can for as long as I can until I get countered in the later game. Now later on I do have, you know, access to my own Fireflies and so on, especially with the new Panzer 1 or Firefly 1Cs that you can get. Like, I have that available, but still, a Befehl Panther is going to be a hard thing to deal with, and well, what do you know, there is a Tiger, which is pretty much just as bad for my Cromwells. So just going to have to maintain as far, like, the longest line of sight as I can. So yeah, just retreating with the Cromwells. I want to try and keep them in line of sight really to do some damage to these Luftwaffe Jäger and infantry squads, but you know, unfortunately I can't afford to engage the Tiger E front on with a Cromwell. It just doesn't work. I'm also, you can see, putting here my 6-pounder onto return fire because I don't want that to reveal itself to the Tiger E or even the 88, because I know that the 88 will kill my 6-pounder for free. Now here the ME109 does come in and almost take out my 6-pounder. 6-pounder does unload though, just away, far enough away from the town, or from the fire, sorry, to be fine. Luftwaffe Jäger though are in range. I've managed to find line of sight onto this Flak-Zwilling, which was a bit misplaced in my opinion, but just killing that off nice and easy. Another Focke-Wulf coming in and finishing off the 6-pounder. So it was a nice idea. I wanted to get a 6-pounder into a position where I could ambush the Tiger E or get close enough to just penetrate in the front armour. Didn't work out. Still have some reinforcing infantry on the way though, and they're just going to try and do as much as they can for as long as they can before the Stug 3 and the Tiger get into position, because this is Uermann now coming over alongside Snapper, and you know, Nexus is always also helping out on this side. So I managed to take out that Luftwaffe Jäger. Over here though, the Dragoni come in with the M5 half-track, and the M5 half-track gets hit by the Panzerstreck, which wasn't great. And the reason we can't see that at that point is because the Zuya Dowsey are too far back. So ideally I would have had my recon a bit further forwards. Starting to make a few mistakes here and there now, after quite a flawless Phase A. But we're moving into Phase B. I'm under a little bit of pressure. But as long as I, you know, keep behind this tree line, like I said before, I should be fine. Even with the Focke-Wulfs coming in with their rockets, you know, the tree line's long enough that it doesn't really matter. They will recover before like any push comes round. Stug 3 is going to be charging down the road here. M4DD going to be engaging that. 11 AP, should be able to penetrate 8 armour. So it's just a matter of time until the M4 gets on target. And with the tracks being destroyed there, that is a sitting duck, the Stug 3. Now in a terrible position. Befehl Panzer also falling back here with the Strelzy running forwards. My Stuart 5 supporting that. That's a recon Stuart. It's funny how I had this little operation going on. Just a bunch of infantry running forwards, supported by a recon Stuart. Meanwhile on the right side the heavy tanks go to work. The Tiger E just annihilating any form of armour that it comes across. And that armour now supported by a 259. Now these 259s are very useful for cutting down rifles quite quickly with the 20 mils. But as you can see on the right side, ground is starting to be recovered, but still a +3 in our favour. This is all inconsequential at this point. We have a huge lead, 1,330 points. ME109 going to be coming in with the rocket strike onto the 6-pounder, as I do reveal that in order to fire at the 259s. I almost get the kill onto one of them, just got the transmission damage. This 259 currently tracks destroyed. Gabby comes in there, is going to be able to shoot down the ME109s. Fantastic job by Eugen for doing that. But my main bet at the moment is just quite simply, you know, holding as long as I can on this right side, and then just, you know, using my infantry to advance through this sort of swamp area, which is, you know, quite good for my infantry, especially considering I have a Dragoni which has the Piat, and my Stuart works very well at close range in that sort of terrain, so that's fantastic. Cromwell 6 here does eventually take out the 259, and I'm sort of looking to engage the 88, but with that being in range, it's very likely that the 88 will just one-shot my Cromwell 6 if I get it in line of sight. But as you can see, still 4 Cromwells alive, still my Cromwell 5 alive, still the Stuart alive. It's quite simply a lot of infantry and AT guns that I've lost so far. But the majority of my original force alive, mainly thanks to this tree line. Imagine if this tree line wasn't here. That tiger would have an absolute field day, just annihilating most of my forces. So keeping an eye on like strategic positions like this is actually very important. And yeah, like I said, because it's so long, even if artillery came in, even if like rocket strikes came in, it's enough to stop any tanks from moving into line of sight. So Dragoni go down there. My Zuidausi's still alive, thankfully, providing me with a lot of recon. You can see this is from my point of view, and I can pretty much see everything, which is great. The Befehl Panzer IV here, that's going to be coming into a line of sight of my Stuart very shortly. However, M1 gun from Eugen beats me to it, and that's going to be aiming at the Befehl Panzer IV. It's up to that Befehl Panzer IV to get a pinning shot onto the M1 gun as soon as possible. One more shot, direct shot, should do the job for the Befehl Panzer IV, but the M1 gun is going to get the shot in first. Ooh. The Befehl Panzer IV missing there wasn't very helpful. Just gets the pin as the M1 gun bounces the Panzer IV, and that's going to be the Panzer IV winning that engagement. Now at this point I probably should have popped out with the Stuart 5 and attacked that, so that was my bad. But I was probably very much concentrating on this right side, where I'm waiting to unleash a 6-pounder onto one of these unwitting targets. So one of these 232s would be quite a nice kill for the 6-pounder. So I'm looking for that at the moment. Stug 3 is going to go down to my 6-pounder here, which was nice. And you can see now Sextons have arrived, and they're going to be pinning down any 88 that we see. Because you've got to remember, we are still playing against the 16th Luftwaffe, and 88s are still a factor. I didn't want to reveal my 6-pounder before that was pinned, because otherwise the 88 would just kill my 6-pounder instantly. But nice job there again. P38 going to be taken down. Another ME109. And the Focke-Wulf going to be soon to follow. So the good thing about this is I have sort of line of sight to the right side where he's pushing with half-tracks and infantry. Yet he doesn't have line of sight with his main forces. So I can still fire at him, he can't fire at me. Really nice hit there from my Cromwell. With the 88 pinned down, I can be very aggressive with those and get the kill in. You might have also seen there, the 259 got direct hit by a artillery shot from the Sexton, which was something that doesn't happen very often, so that was nice. 6-pounder on the left though, being rocketed to death by the aircraft of Snapper. So we did manage to clean up the Befehl Panzer IV eventually. I think Eugen's M4 managed to clean that up, but 69% territory lead. All comes down really to the Phase A. You may wonder why I'm showing this to you guys, because it does look like quite a bit of a stomp, but it's all down to the Phase A play, and certain divisions favour Phase A, and I wanted to demonstrate that once again with the first Pancerna, and in this game it worked out really well. I demonstrated the fire position route onto the 88, which allowed me to, you know, get the kill in, which was fantastic, and that basically led to the breakthrough with the rest of my Cromwell 4s, and all of them are pretty much alive, other than the one on the right side, which I believe peaked the 88 and got killed, so that wasn't ideal. But 6 pounder finishing off the 232. The +3 still counting up. We've managed to get all the way through the swamp as well, which is fantastic. Getting into a really good position there. This 6 pounder reveals itself. I believe I went for a side shot onto the Stug 3, but he missed. So, yeah, unfortunate. Right, another example. Panzerwerfer goes in for the strike onto my Cromwells. Does make one fall back. However, as you'll see, this tree line is more than long enough that as they retreat, you see the line of sight over this area, doesn't reveal itself to any of the enemy tanks, which is exactly what you want. And then it recovers in time for me to then micro it behind the tree line again for if any more artillery comes in. So that just demonstrated my point there. And on this right side we just get bombed quite heavily, but the 6 pounder remaining alive. This Bedford just wondering what the hell went on. Firefly 1C arriving on the field. We have just rolled into phase C, so a Firefly 5C joining me, but this is the one that from phase B, and that's going to be popping the Stug 3 quite nicely. It also has a decent chance of taking on the Tiger, however could do with some veterancy, so I probably should have rolled over the Stuart 5 at this point. But there we have it. Total victory after 21 minutes and 33 seconds. Great job indeed in phase A. I think I just used my Cromwell 6s very well in this game, and it worked out nicely indeed. 2,140 kills to 738 losses. One thing that was pretty amazing though in this game, 1,750 kills to 85 losses for Eugen. Fantastic job in the town on my left flank, and I love it when, you know, I have players that do well on my flanks, because it allows me to play so aggressively without having to like supplement other players. And yeah, it's fantastic. It worked out very well in this one. Unfortunately, Snapper kind of got countered division on division. Like first Pancerna, if it's played right, I think can beat a 16th Luftwaffe pretty much any time. So yeah, it also depends on the map, because certain maps favour the 16th Luftwaffe, especially like forested maps versus the first Pancerna. The 16th Luftwaffe actually do really well. But in this case, where it was nice and open, I could get those 1,200 meter range engagements, and it worked out as you saw. So the kills onto the Cromwell 6 are pretty insane. We got 2 flak filling kills there for that one, flak 36. We had this Cromwell 6 pick up the 259 kill. This Cromwell 6 took out the flak filling, took out a Befehl Panzer 2 actually, and half track there, plenty of infantry. And then we see the Stuart Recon actually ended up taking out that Befehl Panzer 4. I thought that was Eugen's M4, but apparently not. Then we have a 6 pounder coming in, getting a few kills. Cromwell 6 taking out an 88 there as well. And that's just the important kills. Those 88s, they open up the map so much. And especially when Snapper will have a lack of decent AT in phase A. He really was relying on those Panzer Treks, and I just spotted them with my Recon, so that worked out in my favour as well. In terms of losses, the Tiger E came in and basically blunted my push quite hard, as you saw. And that's why I needed to be so aggressive early on, because if that had happened and I hadn't made that much ground, then it's likely that they could have played around that and pushed me all the way back. But, you know, I made enough ground for that not to be the case, and just a great game all round. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully that was, you know, a bit informational, a bit more sort of I tried to add more information in this video to do with a specific division and like phase combo, like how you use them in specific phases, and how you can use terrain and stuff. I just thought it was some interesting information that I would like to share. So hopefully that came across. But thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.